This is now the minority in Parliament says the Audit Service has breached the law establishing the Auditor General's office by not submitting its 2019 reports to Parliament 6 years after the year ended. They blame the situation on President Akufo-Addo's decision to direct the AG to go on leave. Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu alleges the directive and subsequent inability to submit the report is part of the NPP government's attempt to cover up corruption in the administration.
The Auditor General has labored to ensure that all reports are submitted to Parliament within the statutory time limits as I have indicated. It is therefore sad, indeed sad, and we have cause to blame executive interference and executive intrusion that the said report for 2019 is not before Parliament. The audited account for the 2019 financial year, which provides an expose on irregularities, financial malfeasance, misappropriation, embezzlement, and even extortions, have not been submitted to Parliament. We have every reason to believe that this government is covering up to avoid a potential embarrassment of what will be revealed in the audited account for 2019. It ought to be noted that the Auditor General is enjoined to draw the attention of Parliament to instances where public monies are not properly accounted for or where there is deficiency through fraud, default, or mistake by any person, and that resources are used with due regard to the good of our economy and the public good of Ghana. It is a view of the minority that the abroad and ill-advised decision of the President in directing the Auditor General to proceed on his accumulated leave was not just intended to gag the Auditor General in drawing attention to many of these anomalies perpetrated by officials in government and public officials. The minority caucus is particularly concerned that these delays may be deliberate for the primary purpose of avoiding further embarrassment to government.
Now, we know that the Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, was asked to proceed on leave by President Akufo-Addo on accumulated leave, actually, because all the leave days that were accrued to him in his time from the year 2017, 1st January, he was asked to proceed on leave, and he will return sometime in January. He has been criticized this decision by the President has been criticized as a ploy to get Mr. Domelevo out of office, especially since he's currently investigating Mr. Yao Osafo-Maafo, the senior minister, who allegedly hired a group called Cole and Associates to the tune of $1 million to look into some matters pertaining to the former government. Now, the minority is unhappy with government's decision, and Mr. Idrisu is insisting that it is because Mr. Domelevo is not around that this report has not been submitted to the House. Let's speak to Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, who is a parliamentary correspondent. He'll give us a bit more on the matter. Joseph, what more did the minority leader say?
So, Daniel, the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, is quoting Article 1875 of the Constitution, which is categorical that the Auditor General shall, within 6 months after the end of the immediately preceding financial year, to which of the accounts mentioned in Clause 2 of the article relates, submit its report to Parliament, and shall in that report draw attention to any irregularities in the accounts audited and to any other matter which, in the opinion of the Auditor General, ought to be brought to the notice of Parliament. Now, they quote this portion of the Constitution and say that despite this provision, which is again captured in the Section 20 of the Audit Service Act 2000, they say it's been more than 6 months. And in fact, as far as this year is concerned, we've done almost 9 months into the year. But for the 2019 year, the Auditor General hasn't submitted the said report to Parliament yet. And for them, this is a breach of the Constitution and the law establishing the Audit Service. And this is something that shouldn't be countenanced. They go on to say this is happening because of the President's directive to the Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, recently to go on leave. And they think that all of that is of the ploy to avoid this report coming to the House, and they would want the president to go ahead and further direct the Auditor General or whoever is serving in his stead to submit this report to Parliament so that those claims of malfeasance could become issues of public attention.
Of context on this Auditor General Daniel Domelevo was known to submit his report ahead of schedule, was he not?
That has actually been the case on a lot of the occasions. That sometimes very much early in the year he submits his report. He's gone ahead to do various special audits in years before and submitted some of those special audits to Parliament. So to a very large extent, the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, which vets a lot of these reports eventually, has repeatedly commended the Auditor General for his moves as far as the work that he's been doing over the years is concerned, which is why the minority is worried that that situation hasn't happened this time around, and they think there is something wrong that needs to be rectified as soon as possible.
But is it that the only difference between when Daniel Domelevo as Auditor General was submitting all these reports ahead of schedule and now is that he's not around? Has the Auditor General, has the Audit Service, for instance, communicated any special difficulty to the House?
No, we asked that specific question of the minority as to whether they have made any attempt to reach out to the Office of the Auditor General to get clarity on what the problem may have been, which is resulting in this situation. The minority leader, Hannah Idris, makes the point that any such move will amount to an interference in the work of the Auditor General, which they, as the minority, wouldn't want to do. That is why they are taking advantage of the media, which is the fourth estate of the realm, to raise these concerns and hope that it be rectified. But from the indication the minority is giving, no such communication has actually come to the House as far as the difficulty in getting this report put together and submitting it to the House is concerned, which is why they think that the presidency, which the minority says had the audacity, to quote, direct the Auditor General to post on leave, should actually intervene and ensure that this right thing is done as is captured in the Constitution.
Has the majority responded, particularly the majority members of the Public Accounts Committee? Right, we are having a bit of difficulty with establishing the connection with Joseph Opoku Gakpo. We will go back to him when we have a stronger connection.